The message from fans is quite clear now. He has to go. Lose to Charlton, draw to Charlton, doesn't matter. This club cannot end up in League One, and Shilen Patel needs to act. Welcome back to Pastures Green. We've got Aaron, Ben, Dan, and Dean back as usual to give their views on the lack of fight against Coventry City. We expected to lose, of course, at the top of the table, but it's the lack of ambition which some fans are now absolutely furious about. Thank you very much for being in your company this week. We're also delighted to have young Jack with us as well. Jack is an analyst who's been looking at the style of this West Brom team and has got some interesting things to point out, and he's going to be giving us his thoughts on that a little bit later on. How are you, Jack? Good to have you
Yeah,
on board.
good. Yeah, good. Thanks very much for having me, guys. An analyst might be a bit of a stretch, but I do my best.
Okay. Yes, unfortunately, yes, not many good tweets to look at this week. Nick says, honestly, this is disgraceful. This PE teacher now has to be sacked. What were the hierarchy thinking in appointing him? We are going down unless you take decisive action now. The players don't respect him. Admit your mistake and get him gone, or we are going down. Ben, you believe at all there is a chance that you can stay up, or are you resigned to going to Blackpool next season?
I mean, obviously, there's always a chance, obviously, but over the last few weeks, we're not getting any better. We're not improving. We're getting worse. Yes, we played top of the league on Saturday, but I think that was Coventry's. Coventry are going to get an easier way again than that all season. That was Coventry in second gear. They didn't really break sweat in beating us. They saw us off fairly comfortably. And as I said, teams around us are starting to pick up points, and we're just not improving at all. The lack of experience of Ramsey is really killing us at the moment. I think if you're in a relegation dogfight, you wouldn't field a team of inexperienced players, and we've got an experienced head coach in charge who's just not up for the fight, up for the scrap. As you said at the start, we're not seeing any fight on the pitch either. If you're down there, you want to see players putting in tackles, putting a bit of effort in. In that game on Saturday, I didn't really see anyone putting much effort in. I think Jed Wallace was maybe the only one who was trying things, but the rest of them weren't. It's like they're resigned to going down. They're not putting any fight in or anything, and that's the real concern in itself, obviously.
Yeah. This one, Jamie says, anybody who still thinks we'll stay up is absolutely brain dead. By the way, does anybody here think you'll stay up?
I think we could if we take action now.
Yeah.
But every day that goes by, it's another wasted day. I think he's got to go in the morning at the very latest and do something to rejuvenate the team and get the crowd back on side. And then it's possible. 2 big games this week. You never know.
I mean, Gary Rowett's just gone into Leicester, Aaron. And you look at that appointment and think, yeah, I mean, it's not going to be exciting. It's going to be attritional. But do you know what? He just might keep them up. Is that how you look at that appointment?
Yeah, and in our current situation, I don't think a lot of Albion fans would have minded Gary Rowett. I mean, like you say, he's not the prettiest name. It's not the prettiest football, but if it's efficient and it works, then, so be it. You're getting points on the board and you're staying up in a division where, we were looking to get out of the top end, not the bottom end, you know what I mean? So, I think it's hard to say at this moment in time as well, like who would actually come into Albion and want the job. There's probably, you can probably name on one hand, the amount of people that would take it. But, I think something's got to be done. We needed a firefighter, and we've done the opposite. We've some dads got someone who's put more on the fire, if anything. So, it's very disappointing. It's not where we want to be, and like Dean Benham said, there's no passion on the pitch, and you just can't see any way out of this at the moment.
Dan, this sums up nicely. I thought AD Ward says our survival won't be dictated by results like against Coventry, but you want to see these things: fight, determination, energy, endeavour, and a bit of quality. Something to give you hope for the game with the teams that you have to get results from, and we didn't see anything of the sort. Do you agree?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, well, we're into the Coventry game, and I weren't confident that we was going to get anything out of that game anyway, because Coventry are flying. There was in a bit of a bad spell, but then they beat Middlesbrough, and then they've sort of bounced back, and regain that form. And then going into this game, I was like, yeah, we ain't got a hope in hell, especially the way we've been playing. We can't score. We just got nothing going forward. And it's like Ben said, like teams around us are picking up points now, and it's a real worry. But something does need to change, and it should have happened this morning. It should have happened after the game, but something needs to happen now. And just so look, we've never really had that new manager bounce ever. A lot of new blokes come in, and we've always sort of like stalled to get started. I mean, Ramsey's had 8 games now and still no win, and he's scored 2 in the league, and it's not great.
Dean, what are the hierarchies seeing then? Here we are sat now on a Sunday evening recording this. We heard there was a brief meeting after the game on Saturday. There's still no sign of him being sacked. What are they seeing that we aren't?
I don't know, to be honest. And I'm not sure that meeting actually happened. I know there was big rumours about it at the time, but I've not heard anything. He certainly did have a meeting with Ramsey. Shilen Patel was at the game on Saturday. That's definite. That's a fact. We haven't really got much of a hierarchy, to be honest. Mark Miles is back now in Skidmore, but there's not many. There was only one there from America Saturday, and that was Shilen Patel. So he's the one who's got to make the decision. And he watched it. He saw. You see the same as us. You know, it's the atmosphere is terrible. There's no passion on the pitch. There's no passion in the stands. Something's got to change, and we got a really important game Tuesday night.
If you were to draw against Charlton, Dean, does he still need to go after that?
I think so. Yeah, we've 2-3 games with him in charge, but we could have quite easily lost all 3 of them.
And if he was to beat Charlton, Aaron?
I mean, if he wins, it's still 1 win in 9 games. So it depends how you look at it. You can say, well, he's won the game he needs to win, but you know, there's the countless other games before that where he should have got more points out of, and we just flat out to deceive. Like we're just showing no fight. There's no desire there. Why would the players clearly don't want to play for him? So why would you keep him on? Like it's just a no-brainer to get rid.
Jack, should we get your views on this before we question you a bit more on the analysis that you've done? What's your take on it?
Personally, like I know it's a lot of people think it's dead and buried, the whole relegation, but I think you've got to look at just the quality that's around us. Like I know teams around us have brought in managers, and that obviously brings a boost, but Leicester, Blackburn, I think Charlton can be pulled back down, definitely. Having said that though, the football is beyond uninspiring at the moment. There is literally nothing going forward. And while he seems to have sorted the defence out to some degree, it's not enough. It's not enough at all at the moment. And unless it's a complete transformed team at Charlton, it's looking dark.
Yeah. Just on those other teams, Ben, obviously we talked to all the other teams that do a podcast similar to this one. The Oxford one, they are fighting. They haven't got much quality, but they are fighting for each other, and he's got a togetherness there. They've got a draw against Borough and Coventry. Then you look to Blackburn, who've just got Michael O'Neill, who are flipping things around. Pompey have added Ebu Adams to their squad, who is ripping up teams like Millwall. There's only really Leicester and Charlton, which I see as potentially if you send Oxford down, Leicester and Charlton. So this game on Wednesday isn't just about you getting out of it. It's about dragging Charlton back down there in there and giving you another name to battle with, isn't it?
Cheers.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, Charlton are going to come and put 11 men behind the ball and play for a draw, aren't they? And you know, my concern is we haven't got the quality to break that down. You know, we haven't been able to break defences down all season. You know, I can just picture it now. Them scoring on the break, Nathan Jones bombing it down the touchline, his fist in the air. You know, it's written in the stars. You know, he said Oxford as well. Even Oxford went to Middlesbrough and got a point. You know, Charlton went to Southampton and got a point. We don't do that. You know, if we went to Middlesbrough tomorrow night, we'd get beat 3-0. You know, we've just got no sort of, like we said at the start, no passion, no desire. And, you know, I think majority of that does stem from the head coach. And, you know, he just shows more that he's incapable of portraying a message to the players that we're not going to get out of it. You're telling me Nat Phillips has played under Jurgen Klopp. He's got Eric Ramsey managing him. He's thinking, well, who are you? Jed Wallace has played how many games for Millwall under Kenny Jackett? And then we've got a PE teacher coming in and telling him what to do. I don't think he's got the respect from the players, and they're lost. And unless it changes, I think we are going to end up going down.
You can't believe it, Dan, can you? That I'm puzzled. I can't see a world where next year I'm watching Bromley versus West Brom. It's an alien situation. It must be to you.
Yeah, definitely. This is a low point for me as a fan. We gave a lot of stick to Wolves and Blues because they went down there as well. But look, we're in the same boat as them now, and all the stick that we're getting, we deserve it. We've been dog awful. We've been awful all season, and to be honest, I can't see anything changing if we keep this bloke in charge.
Aaron, who do we get then? The solution is to sack him. We know that. I'd have thought it might have been brought in ahead of Charlton and Oxford. 2 massive games this week to give the players a boost, to give the fans a boost on Wednesday night. New manager in the stands. Forget what's happened. It hasn't happened, so here we go with him. What name would you bring in?
It's hard to say, and off the top of my head, there's no one I can really pinpoint as someone that's going to be the person we need. But it begs the question. I think a lot of the teams in the division who are, who've got a decent manager, but they're not the biggest squad. They haven't got the biggest financial backing as well. It begs the question: can we go to these teams and poach their managers? Are we in a position to do that? It's difficult to say because obviously we face our own financial problems as well. But I think there'd be a lot of managers that would still want the job, regardless of how we're doing at the moment. I think it looks good on a lot of people's CVs to be able to manage a team like West Brom. I think if we were to pick one name, someone who's out of a job, someone who's been there before, it would probably be Bilic, but I can't see him coming in. I know we rejected Blackburn, and we're in a similar position to them. But the only thing over them we'd have is he's been here before and he knows the team. I think he's got a lot of love from the fans, for the football that he produced when he got promoted. I think he's probably the only one I really want in at the moment.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Still to come then, we're going to have Jack being quizzed by this lot about what he's found out from all his research. Great piece of work you've done, Jack, by the way. If you haven't read it, the link is in the description below. Go and have a quick look at it. Bit of a lighter note then. just thinking about our A to Z. Has anyone got a good one for Q this week?
Quasi.
Quasi.
There's only 3 in history.
Okay.
Quasi, James Quinn, and Brian Quayle. So Quasi's the pick out.
Oh, right, okay. Quasi's easy enough, yeah. The other thing we're asking about, who do we like as a nice away day from League One? I feel bad asking you that because you might get to see all of them. Of course, next week. So
Blackpool away in the summer.
Yeah. First of all, thank you for all your comments on last week's video. We read every single one of them. You're all absolutely spot on. We love building a great community here, and fingers crossed, we can just get it right this week. Absolutely loving it. I'm going to leave you in the hands of Aaron and others to have a chat with Jack, and I'll catch you certainly all next week. Here comes, Pastures Green, extra time.
So as Mark said, this week we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to be talking about the tactical side of Albion, and the tactical battles that Albion face. I'm sure the lads won't mind me saying that we're not clued up to the brim on tactics and all that kind of stuff. So we've got Jack here to help us out. He's doing a lot on Substack on Twitter. He's making a lot of posts about that and writing a lot of interesting blogs as well. So we've got a couple of questions for Jack to answer. Obviously, hopefully he can answer a lot of questions that a lot of fans have been having, a lot of things that needed to be answered, really. So without further ado, the way we've been set up this season is under Ramsey has been concerning to a lot of fans in their opinions. And we've seen a change in formation from the 3-4-3 to the 4-2-3-1. So, Jack, my question to you is, since the formation change has happened, have we seen any sort of change, or have you seen any positive reinforcement that this is working?
Yeah, so I mean, positive would honestly be a stretch at the moment, as we all know. In his initial setup, like I was at the Middlesbrough game, I think we saw a potential for something that may work, but this is it's a very complex system that it's not a simple way to defend, even though it might look it. And I think it clearly became very obvious to everyone after the Norwich game. We just got completely passed through. There's gaps between the midfield, the back three. There's two in the middle that look like they're on an absolute island, if it's perfectly honest. That was followed up by the Derby game, where again, positive again is the stretch, but we looked a little bit better, again against opposition who didn't really want the ball, which doesn't help. And then the Portsmouth game was honestly just the nail in the coffin with that system. They were comfortable on the ball, could spot gaps to us. They passed into the number 10 with absolutely nobody near him. So I think it was clear to everybody that just wasn't going to work. So then he shifted obviously to this 4-4-2 or 4-2-3-1, where straight away you can see that the players understand what they're doing, which again is a great start looking at compared to the 5-back. Straight away, the understanding is a big plus. And then after that, the fact that we've got two players out wide, so a fullback and a wing back in front of each winger and fullback helps massively. And then with having two in the middle with two pressing up top, it just gives a bit more structure to everything. Now, with that said, going forward, it's the exact same issues. We look so unable to create anything. There doesn't look to be any serious attacking patterns. Like in the 5-back and the 4-back, I think going forward, it's the same idea. It's to break on the counter. It's to work from set pieces. It's to use Hegebo as a bit of a target man to work off. But if I'm being completely honest, we just haven't seen it. And then the real issue, which I see carrying over to the Charlton game, is that second half of Coventry. I mean, Coventry were in second gear. They sat off and basically said, come at us. We don't think you're going to score. And we didn't. And while we created some chances, obviously there was Price at the back post. I think Styles had a shot that was blocked. I think you'll all agree and say we didn't look threatening in any way, shape or form, to be perfectly honest. And that's my big issue. For me, going into Charlton game, we have to win that game. Whether it's Ramsey in charge, whether it's somebody else in charge, we have to win that game. We have, from what I'm looking at the fixture list, we have probably, I think it's 3 or 4 games against teams that are in and around us. Every single one of those has to be 3 points if we're to get anywhere near that 50-point mark, which we all know it's the 40 points in the Prem, it's 50 points in the Champ. That is the mark you have to hit to guarantee safety. And if it's not a turnaround performance at Charlton, it's worrying.
Dean, you're a match-going fan. Does that sum up a lot of what you've seen on the pitch at the Hawthorns or even away?
Yeah, I think you're giving us too much credit, to be honest, Jack. I think we've been absolutely awful. Even the new formation. We dug in at Blues, could have easily lost. Dug in against Stoke. It's no great shakes. But I can't see anything there at all. The players don't seem to know where they're supposed to be playing. The fullbacks are supposed to attack. Styles has a go, but, you know, how bad was Gilchrist on Saturday? Probably
honestly,
the worst fullback display I've ever seen, I think.
I couldn't agree more. And it's at times like as a tactician, I'm not a tactician, but I try to look at the game tactically. I don't know whether to blame Ramsey or the players that are there, because you use the Cov game, for example. In my mind, the idea would be for him to set up, try not to concede and hope to create chances. But, you know, as you said, when you've got Gilchrist putting in that sort of performance, to me, both goals are solely down to him. It's very tough to do anything.
It's this whole backing off as well. When players are running forward with the ball, they just back off. Just go in and smash them.
It's amateur stuff, isn't it? Really, it's amateur. You wouldn't get that in Sunday League. You'd get someone coming through the back of someone. You make a cynical challenge. We've seen it at Blues away where they can do it. So why back off against an attacker who we know can score good goals like that as well?
And things like that they aren't tactical pieces. they're the basics of football. They're the basics of defending. You don't need to be able to know the X's and O's of football to understand that if Bielik and Taylor have got runners and you're standing there doing nothing to close the man running at the goal. And that's where I'll be honest, guys, I've always got a real positive look on the Albion. Probably it's a lot of blue and white tinted glasses, but
You're in the wrong podcast then.
yeah, look, somebody's got to bring it. Somebody's got to bring it. But I feel sorry for Ramsey at stages. I know everything has been poor and it's not been effective, but I really question the mentality and the basics of some of the players we've got there, to be honest, at stages. But somebody's got to find something soon and extremely quickly, unless it's a one-way street.
But if he's after the match comments, Jack, if you listen to me, I'm just baffled by it all, to be honest, what he says after the games. That's probably his team talk as well. So what inspiration is that giving to the players? You know, they obviously don't know what they're doing.
It's one of them. I don't know if he's trying to play the manager in the press and the manager in the dressing room as two different players. But if what he's saying, like, for example, in the Norwich game, he came out and said there's some real positives to take. And I'm assuming he's talking about possibly getting young players minutes and stuff. But that, as fans, and I'm sure as players, sometimes we need to hear the hard-honest truths. We need a manager to come out and say, a bit like Wilder at Sheffield United after our game, he came out and dogged his players, absolutely dogged them. I feel like that could be what our players need at the moment.
Yeah. Instead, we have the assistant manager celebrate.
I don't know if he's cut out for you, but he's cut out for me. But I know exactly what he's about to say. I think we've all seen the reports of his assistant manager laughing and joking and the toast comments. And I mean, if that was picked up the way it was, that's absolutely bang out of order, to be honest. Like, it's not acceptable at any level, especially not at our club, to be honest.
Sorry.
I want to go back to the Coventry game, Jack, if that's all right. I know you've mentioned a lot about it anyway, and a lot of what you're saying is negative, but was there anything out of that game that was positive? Any performances or any key moments or anything like that?
It's honestly, even from a really positive perspective, everything to stretch at this stage. The one almost blind hope I'd have is that under the 5-back, we had no defence and no attack. We switched to the 4 and we seemed to have some remnants of a defence. And then in the Stoke and Blues game, it was defence and no attack. And I think in the Coventry game, it's pretty similar, but we created 2 half chances and that's about the height of it. I did a bit of a tactical preview for Harry's Baggies. It's another YouTube channel. I did a short on it. And I highlighted that we had to get in behind the fullbacks. And everybody in the league knows that's Coventry's weakness. And we managed to do that, I feel like, in the second half. Whether it was Price, whether it was Wallace, getting down that right-hand channel. But again, it's when we get there, there's no idea of what's happening. There's no quality, there's no decision-making. And I think the high-level summary is the confidence in the group in the attacking third is shot to pieces. And we need Ramsey or somebody to really inject some belief in the players that when they get there, just try something. I mean, we're looking at them pass it round or half attempted creating, and we need a bit of belief and just hit one sometimes or just fire one in a low. Like it genuinely gets down to the basics like that.
If you were the manager, Ben, what would you have done differently against Coventry? I know it's obviously easy to say change it all up, but you know.
Change the right back.
Chris.
For me, the midfield too is just too weak at the minute. You know, we bigged him up plenty of times over the season, but for me, he doesn't get about the pitch as well as he used to. You know, he's a technically good player. I'll give him that, but he doesn't get about the pitch as much. You know, Malumbi probably does get about a bit more, but he's severely lacking in quality, Malumbi, I think. You know, you want to have players like him in the team, but his quality for me, he's just miles off it. We talked about Portsmouth and Ebu Adams, who they signed. Why aren't we signing him? You know, he's exactly what we need. Someone in there to kind of get about the pitch, has got a bit of quality. You know, we talk about playing on the counter. we don't play through the thirds very well at all. You know, and for me that comes from the midfield too. You know, I mean, dare I say it, I think John Swift gets in our team now. I think that's where we're at. You know, I think at the minute we've got no one who couldn't. And I know he wasn't amazing and stuff, but when he did play, he can carry the ball a bit. He could pick a pass. I haven't seen Columbia Mo pick a pass in about 5 weeks. You know, that's kind of where we're at.
I think you bang on with that. Like the midfield too. It's like Mowatt's got the quality, Malumbi's got the physicality, and it's neither one have both. And we are crying out for a player like Swift who can drop into that 10, who can link play. Price is supposed to be that guy, but for me, his physical attributes are what stands out, not his technical. And that Jimo Aloba, I think he's got a lot of potential, and I think from seeing him, he has to play in the 10.
He's a set central midfielder, isn't he, by trade? So yeah, and why he's playing out wide when you got Mike Johnson, who's, you know, the league's top sister on the bench. You know, it just baffles me really how Johnson's not playing. I know he can be a selfish prick sometimes, but he's got to play. He's got to play. You can't not play him. I don't get it.
To be fair, you can sort of tell that Jimo Aloba is a central midfielder. As soon as the ball gets played left, he just sort of drifts into the middle.
Yeah, he doesn't look comfortable out there, does he?
No, he don't look comfortable out there at all. And like Styles, he's running up the line, screaming at him for help, for someone to go down the line, and he's buggered off into the middle of the park.
Yeah, that's a massive issue with what I've seen of Ramsey's setup. You're basically playing 2 number 10s in Price and Jimo Aloba, and then Styles, who I think we can all agree is probably one of our best technical footballing players, full stop, this season. The ball goes left. Think about it this way. You pass out from the back, you've got Gilchrist on the right, and you've got Styles on the left. I think we'd all like to pass to Styles on the left. But if he's got no one to pass to, everything gets forced right. And that's where we've seen a massive issue against Coventry. Ramsey has to see that we have to get Styles in the game. To get him in the game, we need a winger who can receive the ball and then play it back to him, rather than forcing everything down our obviously weaker right-hand side.
Yeah. So Tuesday night, we're playing Charlton at home. Jack, again, is there anything that you're expecting from Charlton that, you know, could pose a threat to the Albion? And is there any players in particular that we should look out for?
So this is a really tough thing to say, but I think Charlton could be just as difficult a game as Coventry. At least at Coventry, it almost suited our game plan. We want to sit behind the ball and we want to spring on the counter. Charlton will come to us. They will sit, as Ben said earlier, 11 men behind the ball, and they're going to hit us on the counter. They're going to go long. They're going to be physical. And I feel like matchup-wise, it's a terrible matchup for us. What it's going to need from us is we're going to have to show that we're a team that can break down a low block, that we can show a bit of creativity, show some sort of attacking threat. And I think you'll all agree we haven't shown that at all. Charlton, not only are they just going to sit behind the ball, similar to what we do, but they press quite aggressively. They look to win the ball up the pitch. When they go long, they commit men forward. So if we get 1 or 2 mistakes at the back, it could be really, really troubling. If we are to get some success against them, we're going to have lots of the ball. They like to go direct often, and they like to commit men forward. If we can win that first ball and play forward quickly before they can get set into that defensive shape, that's going to be the only way to attack them, I think, in my mind. We need players like Jimo Aloba in that half space, Price, Johnson, receiving the ball as soon as we win that first header. Now, they have, in terms of threat, it's Sonny Carey to me. Sonny Carey is probably, in my mind, one of the most underrated midfielders in the league. Came from Blackpool, I believe, last summer, and I don't know why we didn't go in for him. He can hit it from range. He's got energy. He's got technical quality. And other than him, it's Lyndon Dykes. They're going to hit the big man, and we know that. And to me, they're the two players to watch out for.
Brilliant, Dan. Same question I asked Ben. If you were the manager for Tuesday night, what would you do?
It's like Ben said, change a right back. To be honest, I think it's about time we drop Price, put him in his place a bit. That might give him the rocket at the backside that he needs. He's got to play Johnson, but then with the two centre backs, I think it has. The only ones available really are Phillips and Bailey. But then we're lacking another centre mid. But then who do you drop then? Probably drop Price. Maybe put Diakite in the middle, make it all a middle five, and then just have Hegabo up top on his own.
So I'll start DK. I think. Well, DK looked okay-ish on Saturday. Hegabo went in the game. DK looked okay, but none of the strikers have done much of this season, have they? So it's kind of.
I think the more exposure DK gets to actual first-team football, the better we are seeing. The player that we know that he can be. I mean, he scored a few goals last season. Obviously, the back end when he went injured, but I think he's been very limitedly used this season. Obviously, I think under Mason he was used probably for about a total of about 60 minutes, and I think we're seeing a better player now. Now that he's being, like I say, he's being shown off more. He's been given the minutes that he deserves, I think. And I mean, the strikers we've had playing for us, Madger and Hegabo, other than Hegabo's purple patch midway through the season where he scored about 6 or 7 goals, we haven't really seen too much quality, if I'm completely honest. I think it's probably deserving of a chance for DK.
I agree. I'd play Johnston wide. I'd let them worry about us. I'd put DK and Hegabo down the middle and batter them. Let them. We worry about the opposition too much. Let's try and play to our strengths, if you can call them strengths.
I think Dean's got a good point there. Like off the top of my head, I feel like it's been very rare we've seen Hegabo and DK play together. Like I feel like it's either Hegabo and Maja, which is rare, or it's Maja and DK, which has been the thing we've seen most often. And I think again, Dean, you bang on. Like as much as I can talk about the threats they show to us, we're at home. We've got to go out here and just put balls in the box to 2 big men, because there's not much. We haven't got much creativity elsewhere, and just kind of force ourselves upon them. Like there's as much tactical things you can speak about, but it's more a mentality. We have to go for the game as opposed to thinking, oh, we better not lose. We've got to approach the way in this way. Sometimes football is simple. Get the ball in the box, play 2 strikers, and you're going to create more chances than sitting behind the ball and hoping to run 60 yards.
Yeah, that's brilliant. So just before we end this segment, can we get some score predictions from you all for Tuesday night? We'll start with you, Ben.
God. I can't imagine the scenes when Charlton go on up. I can just see it coming. I can just see the crowd turning. I think Charlton will score. So I think 1-1. I can't see Charlton not scoring.
Dan?
I say 1-1.
Oh, God. I can't see us scoring, to be honest.
Yes, that as well, obviously.
Honestly, look, we couldn't score in a woman's prison with a handful of pardons, to be honest. So I'll probably go Charlton 2-0.
Dean?
It all depends. I think if we pull the trigger tomorrow, even put Morrison in temporary charge, I think we might win 1-0. Seriously. If we don't, then I can't see anything other than probably a 2-0 defeat, and then he'll have to go because it'll be toxic.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll come to you, Jack, as well.
I'm going to be the constant optimist, guys. I mean, somebody's got to be. I think Ramsey realises the pressure that's on him. I think it finally makes him turn his approach. I think we go for it, and I think Charlton do score, but we win 3-1. Somebody's got to be, guys. Somebody's got to be.
I think personally we're going to see another 0-0. I think that's probably the best of what we're going to see from the rest of the season. If I'm completely honest, I can't see where the goal's coming from, unless, like Jack says, he changes something completely drastically, and I think that's probably very unlikely. So I think a 0-0 is probably the right scoreline. But thank you for that, Jack. Anyway, so like Mark said before, we'll link Jack's socials below, his X account and also his Substack. Thank you for coming on, Jack. It's much appreciated for your time.
Yeah, thanks very much, guys. Appreciate you having me on.
Jack, that was good.
Jack, where are you?
I'm in Ireland.
I thought so.
Yeah. No, somebody got a
Very
score
nice,
over here.
Dean.
Where's the Albion allegiance then?
Oh, it's just me and me dad.
Why?
Why? Because they're all Man United and Liverpool over here.
So your dad just chose Albion?
No, I was born in Birmingham. I grew up
okay.
in Bearwood over there. So
Oh,
we
wow.
moved over
So you're
here
down the road from me.
It's just me and me dad.
Oh, brilliant.
Fair play.
Oh, right.
I was waiting for Mark now, are we?
No, I think we
I
just
think he's
kick
coming
off
back.
and then Messi. He led it this bit out anyway.
Brilliant.
Yeah. I know, boys. Appreciate you having me on anyway. I wouldn't call myself a tactician, but big fan of the pod anyway, no matter how negative it is. And someone's got to be it anyway.
Perfect.
Brilliant. Was there anything that we missed that we usually do?
I think so. See what happens Tuesday. Not Wednesday, as Mark kept saying.
Seems like a busy man.
Yeah. I mean, his knowledge is
Kyle
incredible.
Bartley needs
That's
to,
not every team, doesn't he?
Kyle Bartley needs to keep his mouth started.
Do
keep
not
his
get
mouth
me
shut.
started on him. He's a joke. I mean, he's trying to make a punditry career off slagging off everything that's ever happened at the club while he was there.
Yeah.
Like,
And he's been for how many managers?
Exactly. His career
Playing with the
finished
fans.
after that Blues game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly what you said there, Dan. On about the fans, like, I think, look, obviously, I don't go to every game, I can't, but from the telly, we outscream every single home support them away fans every single week. It's fantastic. And for him, somebody who's he's not 5-10 years removed from the club. He was here am I right in saying last year?
He was here pre-season, wasn't he? He was in pre-season, wasn't he, this year?
So, yeah, don't try to launch your career off slagging us off. I'm not a fan of it at all.
No, I agree.
But guys, I've got to run. I've actually got something else to run to. But again, really, really happy for having me on. And again, happy to do this whenever.
Nice one. Cheers, Jack. Appreciate it.
Cheers, guys.